Good morning, meat suits. Welcome back to Read and Weep, a podcast about movies and my friends being mean to me about my taste in them. This is season 5.
Yeah.
Kevin Bacon's Exquisite Corpse is the name of this season. That's the name of the game we're playing. I'll tell you more about that soon. And we're just four retired gunslingers playing a very long movie watching game. I am your host, as always, Alex Falcone, but you can call me Cowboy Money. And I'm recording, as always, from North Koreatown, Los Angeles. I'm joined today. He's at Anthony Lopez, part 2 on Twitter. He's in Southeast Portland. He was talking about the Queen again on Independence Day, no less. It's Anthony Lopez.
Alex, I'm glad you brought up us making fun of you for your movie opinions. And this may be a little inside baseball, but you know, at the end of every episode, especially when we really dog on Alex, he likes to look at us with tears in his eyes and he goes, I didn't deserve that. I didn't deserve any of that. And we all in unison look at him and just say, you know, Alex, deserve ain't got nothing to do with it.
I was building a podcast following.
Also joining us today, he's the co-host of the Old Gamers Almanac pod. He's from the woods of Brooklyn, and they call him Two Guns, but he only carries the one pistol, if you know what I'm talking about. It's Hunter Johnson.
Yeah, I needed that's what you should give me. I always want to be that character in the story. The penis character.
I mean,
basically.
his one pistol exploded in his hand.
And con.
Oh yeah, there's a con. That's an opinion to have. Pro penis, con penis.
There's a king size and there's a twin, you know.
Right. Yeah. I get
Sorry,
it.
that's what you were saying.
I was going to say the issue was that his main pistol exploded in his hand, and that was really disastrous for him. So I don't know if this is the person you want to be generally.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the other one, if it exploded in his hand, sips coffee.
Wow, Alex. Wow.
That was sort of a fill-in-the-blank joke. Here's the problem. Already, dude-heavy movie, and then, a major inciting incident is a guy who thinks his penis is too small. Also joining us to round out the panel today, he wasn't going to be here, and now he is, and so I don't have an intro for Ezra Fox.
I'm just a writer, and maybe I'll shoot someone. No, I won't shoot anyone. I'm just going to ask. This is like the start of Gonzo journalism, I guess.
I guess it is, yeah. I mean, I liked because his name was Beauchamp, but it always sounded like bullshit. I thought that was cute.
Yeah. That is funny.
I don't know how you didn't just immediately go, the duck of the podcast.
That's
right.
Yeah, you know?
That would have been really good.
That was pretty funny.
Alex, you can be the duck of the podcast if you want.
I could be the duck. Okay. That doesn't end great for the duck either. And I used Anthony's, I described you as that guy. Good line, though. Okay, before we start the show, I want to thank all of our fabulous meat buddies who have kept this show limping down the tracks. If you go to Metreon.com, you can join our Patreon and help support us for some reason. And we will take all of that money at the end, put it in a purse, and hand it to a gunslinger who does something that we've wanted him to do for a while. And we appreciate everyone who supports our show. So we are in it. This is going to be a brisk episode today. We have places to be. We're recording in the morning, which is very uncomedy. And so Hunter suggested, or Anthony suggested, one of you suggested we skip the news. And we can't. It's too much important news. Orcs are women now. What is that? No, okay. Wait, what? You guys didn't see the story? Okay.
No, I don't know what you're
talking about. The story we're
about.
not talking about is that the new Amazon Lord of the Rings series announced yesterday that some of the orcs will be ladies. There were only boy orcs in the original Lord of the Rings, but it got a whole news cycle about girl orcs. So if you're
people mad, are there people that are upset about girl orcs?
I'm just assuming there are, and I'm not on that part of the internet.
I mean, look, I'm looking this up. Tolkien confirmed in a letter dated October 1963, that female orcs have existed. This is fine.
Yeah, you know what I think what pisses me off about this Amazon show and this orc shit.
Damn, SJW's taking our orcs.
Look, Amazon,
Look, I want a fucking orc, but I don't want to feel hetero about it.
No. Yeah. Just think, look, here's the thing. How fucking dare you? You're making a big Amazon show. You try to get brownie points, and you try to, fucking, get headlines, get patted on the back, because you come up with female orcs who I'm sure are still going to have,
girl boss
absolutely
orcs who are leaning in.
Absolutely, no characterization and just be evil monsters still. But
yes,
the main thing is, you're also the first big show that is doing, women dwarves, and you have them look all fuckable with no beards. It's like
Oh,
you want to talk about
Whoa.
old
Are you
great thing
serious?
to actually, the thing that's actually like in the books, it's talked about, is acknowledged. Dwarf women have beards. It would be a cool thing
And
to
they're
see.
still
It would
hot.
be. It would be very cool.
It would
Yeah.
be neat. It would be visually interesting. It would separate them. It would just be a fun thing to put on screen. And they were like, no, dwarfs women need to be fuckable.
They need to be adorable.
Beards off of them. It's so insulting that it's like, oh well, we gotta have them still be hot. It's just like they could be hot with beards, but it's just
I think that would be so much more interesting if you did it and you were like,
Dude.
had all of this new generation of kids getting into Lord of the Rings and being like, I guess this is what I like.
I
I like a luscious beard.
I like a luscious bearded lady.
Oops.
Yeah, give it to me.
Women dwarfs
And
with
my
beards
Horizons television.
should be what Jessica Rabbit was to our generation. This is
Yeah,
a weird
it
thing
should be.
that was planted in the
I
brains.
know, because I always
cooking
think of
pot.
rabbits as being extremely hot now because of that.
Yeah.
do you think
Me too.
the next thing is going to be? She wasn't actually a rabbit. You understand that, right?
Yeah.
Just, to be clear, this is a taken last name, right?
Yeah,
You-
you're
you-
thinking
okay,
of
so-
If she's not at least part rabbit, then that is 100% disgusting.
Yeah, you're thinking of Lola Bunny, right? From
I was
Space.
thinking
Yeah,
of
you're
Lola
thinking
Bunny.
of
Actually,
Lola
right? I
Bunny.
forgot for a second. This
Okay.
is just a lady who does it with a rabbit.
Right.
Who also,
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing. That was a joke. We were not going to talk about that news.
Now
And
we've
yet,
burned all
I
our
need to
time.
have a take. The other news we're not going to talk too much about is that Back to the Future, the musical, is coming to Broadway next year, which I'm sure you guys are very excited about. Everybody anticipated this. I am just finding out, but apparently it's been playing on the West End since 2021.
Is it
and
just the first movie, or is it
just
the
the
whole
first
trilogy?
movie? It's got one of the writers from the movie is wrote on it.
Bob Gale?
Apparently, yes,
Yeah.
Bob Gale. Everybody seems to, the reviews, the general reviews seem to be everything is very good except the music, which is too bad. The
Hilarious.
songs are like the songs that are just covers that were in the movie are great, but the new songs are all kind of meh.
Like they do Back in Time by Huey Lewis in the news at some point, I would imagine.
I know there's Huey Lewis in the news, and I don't know all of probably. The apparently the DeLorean flies partly over the audience and it
That's
lights up
neat.
and spins around, which is neat. The
Oh,
clips I
like
saw
Santa Claus.
did have a lot of rear projection. Like they just have like a big digital screen behind it, which is like a movie. That's a movie.
Oh,
You've described a movie, but now
Right.
the actors are standing in front of the movie. I
Great,
don't know.
Rocky Horror. We love that.
Yeah, that's true. I do like it.
Well, I mean, the greatest cinematic experience in the world, T2-3 at Universal Studios, the Terminator
that's
2
true. Have we
3D
ever
movie.
talked about Universal rides? Because the best, because Ezra was just there and has some theories. But the best one is Waterworld. And that's probably in the history of time the only Universal ride that was exponentially better than the film it was based on and lasted much
Call
longer.
that a ride though, as you don't move.
Sorry, not a ride.
It's
A
a
show.
That
Sorry,
is
I
a
meant
seat
show.
Show.
Sitting.
I mean, Terminator 3D is also pretty sweet.
Yeah. Most rides are just shows where your seat moves now, though. Anyway, we're not talking about that. We're moving on. The thing that I wanted to do briefly in the news segment that I wanted to make sure I talked about is this is just a discussion from TikTok yesterday that I wanted to bring you guys into. I wanted to bring back and refresh us on our discussion of fake bands from several episodes ago. So I made a little TikTok yesterday about how great the O-Neaters are. And that thing you do, and specifically about how much I like Cap and Geach and the Shrimp Shack shooters.
Half of your comments on that were just like, does he know that's not how we pronounce the name?
Yeah, I know, which is so funny.
Wow.
Like, look, I get it. I've seen the movie more recently than you, but like, you've got to know that I know.
Wait,
Right.
if you do it like a little, like put a little mustard on the way, like the O-Neaters. You're right.
That's true. That's
Right,
true.
yeah.
Neaters.
Yeah, right. You gotta let us know, or like that you know.
And I'm talking to you about the writer of the song in the movie. I clearly am aware of the
Alan,
second half of the
I
movie.
don't know what it is about you, but you look like the kind of person who would not get it. I don't look.
I don't
it's
know.
not-
They're
it's just-
probably just trolling you, Alex. Like
It's hard.
probably
It
just
is hard to
people
tell,
playing dumb.
and it's one of those things that if I respond, then they're like, "I was just playing." Because if I say it's the O-Neaters, and then they say it's pronounced Wonders, then if I go, it was a joke, then they're going to say, yeah, I was doing the second part of the joke. And if I don't say anything, they'll be like, you didn't know, idiot. Anyway, so there's a few of those comments, but mostly there's a couple of other things that I wanted to bring up from this. First of all, Sean Whalen, also in the comments, he's the actor who played their very first fan in the movie. And he pointed out, I said that thing you do, the movie, was a hit. And he would like to clarify that it was mostly a cult hit. It was not a big hit when it came out, and he has the measly residual checks to prove it.
Ooh,
which is hard to argue with.
So the
and
reason
it's
why
funny that
Tom
we're now
Hanks
airing
never-
that out there. You know what I mean? Like we're putting out there that this guy didn't make that much money off the movie.
Well,
you know?
no, on the
He
residuals,
put it
the
out,
product
he's
is
gonna-
great. He crushed it there.
Yeah, he was, and it was a fun little for a character actor bit. He did a great job on it.
It was a fun, tiny, just little character bit that happened with this guy.
I mean, there's a reason why Tom Hanks never directed again, right?
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I think that's.
He did direct again. He did Larry.
Crown.
Oh, I mean, there's a reason why he's only directed one other movie, and there's
Right,
a
Larry
huge
Crown?
gap between them, you know.
And that one did not do very well at all.
Yeah.
Like that thing you do is a much bigger. So this is one of the things I mentioned in the movie, which I think is very funny about it, is that thing you do was enough of a hit that it counts as a hit. Larry Crown, not a hit, which means Thomas the Hank Engine is a one-hit wonder as a director, which I think is very funny. And also, if I have one goal in life, it's to make Thomas the Hank Engine a thing. Good job making faces for the YouTube.
Yeah.
Hunter. I
Hey, I'm here
appreciate
for
that.
the YouTube.
I don't-
I'm here for
Alex,
the
I
YouTube.
don't
also
know-
just wanted to talk.
I don't know how this is news when this is just like, hey guys, I did a video. We're going to talk about that video on the podcast.
Yeah,
talking
the
about-
news is you did a video.
Listen,
It's kind of inside baseball. This
okay,
feels
so Sean,
corrupt,
first of all,
Alex.
Sean Whalen commented, big news. Second of all, I'm sure there are millions of new listeners to the show because they watched the video, want me to acknowledge it. But mostly, a bunch of people mentioned other bands that I don't think we talked about enough in our discussion of.
Yeah, it's called vertical integration, guys.
Yes,
wow.
guys,
It's
feels like
one
horizontal
Alex.
at that.
you
This
have
is
all
Alex
told me at one
brand
point, you were
here.
like, when are you going to use your power as an influencer to drive traffic to our podcast? And then I finally do it, and you're like, what are you doing?
The podcast brand is us making fun of you, though. This is on
brand.
stream.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly. They
deserve
need an
this.
authentic experience, Alex. New here.
Okay, but some people wanted to call attention to some other fake bands, and so this is not a news segment. This is more of a like listener mail segment, I guess. But this is some other fake bands we didn't talk about before. Stillwater's "Fever Dog," the song from Almost Famous, got a
like that
bunch
one.
of
Oh,
mentions.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jason Lee.
Which is solid. Also, I don't know if you guys know Scotty Doesn't Know from Eurotrip,
Yeah.
which is Matt Damon being a
Damon.
real dirtbag. And
Yeah.
I looked it up. It's a pretty fun song. It's about Matt Damon having sex with Scotty's girlfriend in his van.
I remember that. I mean, Spinal
It's a pretty
Tap.
solid song.
Spinal Tap is a band that's so fake it literally loops around and becomes a
Yes.
real band that actually tours and makes.
So this was my big question. So one of the things. So when I was talking about fake bands, my wife's first thing she wants to talk about is the Soggy Bottom Boys.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
The Soggy Bottom Boys are like they toured as not George Clooney, but the people who actually made the music for the movie toured as the Soggy Bottom Boys afterwards.
Uh-oh.
And I wonder. So here's I guess my question is where does that stop being a fake band anymore?
What is a fake band?
I
Yes.
feel like you're making fun of me still.
No, I'm not.
That's
I
not
want
your
to
normal
ponder.
voice when you're having fun.
I want to ponder.
Well, so
what is
here's
a
so the
fake
thing
band.
is there is no such thing as a fake song. They're all actual songs, right? But the bands don't exist. But then if the bands exist because the thing was good, or like a really interesting example is the Monkees, right? Because they were a band created for a TV show that was also a real band that toured as a real band, but it was because of the show.
Right. There's
Yeah.
also the
I mean,
Gorillas, which is
Yeah,
a digital
I was gonna say
band,
the Gorillas.
Yeah.
holographic band.
You know what a fake band has?
Interesting.
I'm not a big fan of the movie Scott Pilgrim.
Right.
But Brie Larson's fake band plays a song in it that's kind of a real banger.
Yeah, though,
Wait, isn't that a
Uh,
real song though? Doesn't she just play like a song by
I think
somebody?
it was written
Like,
for the movie.
so that's
Uh,
my one qualification because a lot of these are like they're like covers or songs that they just like used the band's song, and
Yar.
I like it better if it's written for the movie. So I didn't look that one up.
Okay,
But
how about does the Cantina band from Star Wars count?
Yeah, a little jizz
I
jazz.
mean, yeah, a little jizz jazz, yeah.
A little jizz jazz. We're not saying anything wrong. It's just jizz jazz. That's what it's called.
I guess I want to say no. That doesn't
have a
count,
name.
but- right? They have a name.
Yeah,
they have a
and,
name.
yeah.
And it's a song. It's music.
Man, why do you hate this segment so much, Hunter?
No. What? No, I don't hate it. I just this is what it sounds like when I'm trying to go fast.
What with the
Okay, so just a
So
couple
real-
more shout outs that I want to do. One is Sugar High from the staff in Empire Records,
Uh-huh.
which is also a pretty good 90s pop punk. And then You All Everybody by Drive Shaft from
Lost,
from
baby.
Lost.
You all,
yeah.
everybody. That's
Which
what
is
it sounds
pretty
like.
rad. And then, of course, probably like if it weren't for That Thing You Do and Cap Engaged and Shrimp Shack Shooters, my second favorite fake band probably has to be Powerline.
Powerline's so good.
Powerline
from the Goofy movie.
Oh,
Powerline
yeah.
is just Dogman Michael Jackson and
It's Dogman Michael Jackson and Dogman Prince.
Dogman Prince. Yes, it really is. It's great. It's weird with the cartoon because it's so clearly like doing a version of these other artists, but it's great. And also, That Thing You Do never helps a dog man get his dog's son dog laid. So you got to really Powerline
Dog's son
really
gotta
does it
get
for
dog
Also,
laid.
Dogman Bobby Brown, who I did not know.
Oh, I don't, okay, interesting.
Okay.
Yeah,
I feel like
Powerline is great.
I feel like there are no fake bands. I feel like they're all just real bands. You know, they're all just real. You know, we could make a real band right now.
All right, let's move on.
Can it be a real band?
You
real
can
band?
convince me.
Here we go.
Fine, Hunter. Fine. We'll talk about something else.
We're the hand sanitizer sprays. It's
No.
canon now.
No, this is over.
Yeah,
This segment, Hunter hated this segment. We're moving on.
Hand sanitizer sprays. We'll get a song soon.
All right.
I did not hate.
Here's what we do. You use your voice
Listen,
changer
Alex.
4 times to be your own barbershop quartet.
There we go.
Oh, I
and
do
we
like
looped
that.
it. Okay, I want some production on this episode. Alex, I'm not mad. You've just never heard me record this podcast in a hurry. You have never experienced that, and this is what it sounds like when I have a million things
Yeah,
to
there's
do.
something about being in a hurry that sounds so sarcastic. All right, we're moving on.
Hunter is fun. I like this.
We have an anchor segment we got to get to, and then we have to do a redraw. So let's get rushing. Okay, so it's time for segment 2, the game. It's time for segment 2, the game. As you know, we did not use that musical sting to edit or to go to the bathroom. Instead, we just plowed through and made Hunter later for whatever it is he's doing. So,
just stand here
as
and
you
wait.
know, listeners to the show, for season 5, we're playing a game. It's kind of modeled after a tabletop game, except it takes forever. And so each week,
Well, I mean, that's what a tabletop game does.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
what do you
Everyone
think?
at least- Yeah.
imagine if it was even longer. So this is it's called Kevin Bacon's Exquisite Corpse, and each week one of us gets to choose a new movie that has one actor in common with the last movie, and if you can steer it to your pre-designated movies that you picked at the beginning of the year, you win points. And there are, of course, power cards and grudges, and Anthony's really not playing. So anyway, that's the game.
Played our own game. I think is also the fun thing about
We are playing 4 different games for sure. This week it was my choice of movie, and I picked, because Anthony told me to, Unforgiven, the 1992 American revisionist Western, directed, produced, and starring
Alex, can I ask?
Clinton Eastwood.
Why didn't you just pick the movie you're trying to get to? Because you could have used a power card.
Yeah, I couldn't. You said that I could. It was technically one is 2.39 and one's 2.35, and they were also filmed in totally different film stock. And my card says it has to be aspect ratio and film style.
Oh, okay.
It
Well,
was,
that's fair then.
it was neither, so that's why.
Okay.
If you Googled it, some websites said that it was the same, and others said it was different. And then the film was so different that it didn't count.
I think
So-
I personally, I think this card is bad, and you need to redraw. I just think it's a bad card.
No, the card is bad, and I need to use it and score points and move on.
Yeah.
And I will just give you a little hint, which is that this movie, Unforgiven from 1992, is
better
definitely
than
the
Apollo
same
13.
aspect ratio as Iron Giant. So and the film is close enough. So if I get drawn in today's redraw, we're definitely going to watch Iron Giant next week.
That's
If
cool.
not,
Also, I could throw this out there. This movie kind of fucking owns.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reason as well to select it.
well, so this was an interesting adventure. So you bullied me into watching this. No,
don't
actually,
bully.
you picked
No,
it.
I-
Intellectual
We all
exercise.
bullied
you.
Alex. Okay,
Yeah.
we
You
all
told
get
me
a
it was a
we
good
all
movie.
get
It was an
bullied
interesting response to last week's The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which also had
Yeah,
Clint
we'll
Eastwood, and that's how we
admit-
traveled.
I will admit to bullying you all the time. I will gladly do that any day of the week. This, I just said, I think, especially because we did Good, the Bad, and the Ugly last week, that this is a very fun juxtaposition. This is a great film to contrast with a movie like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, because
I think you are definitely right about that. And I was going to say thank you, but no thank you, because I'm going to travel via my power card. But then I found out it didn't actually work, and so I had to go with you. You didn't bully me at all. This is actually my lack of preparation. But the interesting thing was you talked about how great it was, and then I got a text from Jay Number One, longtime friend of the show, listener, and friend of the show, Jay, who said least favorite movie of all time.
Whoa.
Just
There's so many
absolutely
movies.
hates this movie.
What else has he seen though? Right? Like if this is like if you've only seen 10 movies, there's a lot of bad ones out there.
She's watched a lot of movies, and specifically, they said they were working at a movie theater at the time this came out and saw it a bunch of times.
I
was
just
thought for me.
Like
Well, this is
ham-fisted
not-
directing, terrible dialogue, just really crap across the board. And they only gave Clint Eastwood an Oscar to get him to stop making movies, and he didn't take the hint, which
I
is a
love
very
that
funny
idea.
theory. I don't think an Oscar has ever told people maybe you should quit. Maybe a Lifetime Achievement Award, but
yeah, that's like that's
powers
wrap it
you
up, buddy.
up, if anything.
yes,
It's
of
like
course it does.
yeah, giving someone like look at what this movie the Oscars for this movie was the same year that Al Pacino won for Scent of a Woman, and look what that did to his career.
Yeah,
right,
you're right.
That locked
That's
him
how we
in.
got Dunkachino. Okay.
That locked him in
If
the
anything,
Scent of a
powered
Woman
him
thing.
up.
You know.
Yeah, that's true.
And
I mean, I wouldn't
know-
want to miss Dunkachino, but
Yeah, I mean, I get that this is not exactly a delightful movie.
No.
There's not really like good people in it or heroes. It's just kind of this very bleak,
it's just bad and ugly.
very dark. Yeah,
I will say so. I was
Well,
just
hold
like
up,
not
hold
sure
up.
what to
No.
expect going into it, and I generally enjoyed it. But I'm not ready to say that it totally owns. But there were some good parts, and there were some parts that I thought were a little corny. But generally, I was into it. Hunter, what were
I
you
need to
saying?
comment on something because this movie has more of a moral center than the good, the bad, and the ugly, and so I don't like calling it just the bad and the ugly because there's actually a morality
There
to
is
this
a
movie.
strong moral core.
Spaghetti westerns do not really have.
It is
by
a
and
very
large.
strong moral core, which is you can kill and maim as much as you want as long as you don't cheat on your wife. And
it
I like
also.
that. I think that's a strong message.
That's way
This
more human.
movie
There's also
also-
women in it that speak and have names.
Yeah,
There you go.
That's true.
it also has. I mean, if anything, there's like. What's one of the things that's kind of really upsetting about this movie is like its themes and like certain sequences are like more relevant today than they were when like 1992 just because of the internet and the way news stories propagate. I mean, I think like the inciting incident of this movie, the way Wild Bill handles it is a news story we read about every 6 months of some judge being like, these are good young boys.
Yep.
They don't deserve it. I mean, it's like that's the type of thing in 1992 you can be aware of that, but in 2022, because there's so many, like I could literally name names of famous shitbags who got off, young white kids who got off for horrible crimes with that exact same excuse. Like the fact that this movie acknowledges that and nails that in 92, it's like. It's more upsetting today than it was back then.
Yeah,
because
I mean,
we've seen that play out so much.
There was that huge story, the cover story about canceled as a teenager yesterday. That was like these boys just shared pictures of their girlfriends with everyone in the school, and now people don't talk to them anymore. Anyway, like this is very very relevant. I did notice that. Let me give you guys a summary if you have not watched Unforgiven from 1992. It's been a minute. I didn't even get through my list. Also starring, in case you're looking for moves for next week, also starring Gene Hackman, Morgan Freeman, Richard Harris, Francis Fisher, and Anna Levine with scar makeup. So
don't forget my boy Saul Rubinek, who I'm a big fan of.
Who's Saul Rubinek?
He plays the writer.
He's good. He's fun.
He's one of my favorite character actors. He can do comedy, action, horror. He's just always a funny guy to show up in movies.
Yeah,
and he is so good in this movie. Like his fanboying out about these people he meets is so delightful. It
really is good. Actually, that is the one thing that I would say about this movie that like did own is that it's very funny.
Yeah,
I think unhesitatingly, like there are some very very funny things in it, and he is definitely one of them. It reminded me a lot of Deadwood. Which I love.
Yeah.
But Deadwood has like a newspaper writer who's also very funny.
Yeah, it's almost like Deadwood was wildly influenced by Unforgiven.
Almost like that.
It's almost like they saw Unforgiven and were like, I bet we can get a show out of this.
Yeah, that's very true. So those are some of the people in it. Let me tell you the story in case you have not seen it. It's the 80s. Cool, right? Big hair. No, it's the 1880s. It's shitty cowboy time. Everyone smells bad. And two especially shitty cowboys, one of them with a little tiny dong, gets mad at a prostitute for laughing at his wee. and slashes her face. And then because he's a man, goes pretty much unpunished. So the other prostitutes at the billiard parlor, they pool their money. That's joke. They pool their money, and they put out word on the street that anybody who kills those two cowboys will get $1,000 in 1880s money, which is like 30 grand today. So it's a good little pot of money. Yeah, it's not bad. It's kind of like that $1 million bowling tournament in Kingpin, but fucked up. So that's the inciting incident. Everyone wants to come to this town, get their money. All the assassins are coming out of the woodwork, and some of those are like mean British men, and then some of them are like the underdog assassins, like this half-blind kid who recruits Clint Eastwood to come out of retirement, and he in turn recruits also retired Morgan Freeman, and both of them seem a little old to have only been out of the game for like 7 years or whatever they said. But
hey man, those are fucking Western miles on their face.
These guys 36. I don't know if you knew that.
I mean, they were both established as literally like being drunk every day for like 20 years, living in no sunscreen, no lotion.
That's such a good point.
Western sun.
Actually, that's a really good point about the drinking too, is that as far as like things that this is responding to in other Westerns, the volume of whiskey people drink and are unaffected by it in most Westerns is very high. Yeah. And these guys, they drink whiskey and it has long-term consequences. Okay, so they go off and they're like, so the three of them, the three like underdog assassins set off. But the sheriff, our sheriff, who doesn't like punishing men, it turns out really has a thing about assassins, which is like such a funny
way
of all the things you're like really pissed off about.
You know
it's
what
like,
I hate?
There's only one thing in this world I don't like, and it's professional assassons.
It's kind of like a kid's fear. It's like I don't like ninjas or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't like dinosaurs. Yeah, of course you don't like assassins. No one likes assassins. That's the point. But anyway,
so do like assassins though nowadays. Like you'd watch a movie about an assassin. We could kind of, right?
Yeah, that's true. Leon, I like Keanu Reeves is pretty good.
I think I'm gonna say we generally like assassins. I think that's what's changed.
Yeah, they're generally heroes now. Yeah.
Man, you know what? I think people who kill people
are bad.
That's my thought. Yeah. I think I'm gonna cancel you if you're an assassin. I'm canceling you, assassins.
I'm tweeting about murderers, and I'm gonna get them known about, and we will cancel them. Anti-murderers.
So the sheriff beats up the British guy for being an assassin, and then when old Clinton Eastwood shows up, he too gets a little beaten because he's old and not very good at this, but his two friends get away, and together they manage to kill one of the two cowboys. But unlike in The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, where killing people is like chill, this kind of sucks. The guy who gets killed really hates it, and so they in turn
not a fan,
don't like it. And
that like there's something I really like about the movie, that he's he was like there and partly responsible, but he also tried to stop his friend once he realized what was going to happen. He tried to give the girl a horse. He definitely felt the worst out of all the people involved.
Right.
And he absolutely has the worst, most agonizing death of anybody in this movie. It's like
gets shot in the gut.
The person who's like has slightly bit of redeem. Like the fact, like it's a really interesting way this movie deals with violence and the consequences of it. And like this guy who obviously did something that like deserved punishment. I mean, this movie is really great. Like one of its great themes is like proportionality, and like the way punishment needs to fit the crime, and the way that like once violence gets involved, there is no more proportionality. It's just escalation. But the fact that this one character gets such an agonizing death when he is really the one person who like deserves something, but it certainly wasn't that, know?
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah,
it's good.
At that point, it really feels like violence is not the answer. That might get muddy later. Yeah. So then Morgan Freeman decides he doesn't like killing anymore. He doesn't want to get canceled. So he decides to not be an assassin. He leaves town, but not fast enough because sheriff catches him and tortures him to death. And that really upsets Clinton. So Clinton, like, he walks back into that bar and he kills everybody and then gets away with it.
Hold up. He doesn't just kill everybody. He transforms into a different guy that you have not seen in this movie at all.
He starts drinking.
Yeah.
drinks, and he's Superman's. Yeah,
His just whole attitude is it's like it's like he becomes possessed by a demon and then is just a completely different character.
The way some people think drinking helps their bowling, drinking actually helps his killing. Like, he becomes superhero level shooter immediately, and just like 50 guys pointing guns, and he's like, that's not enough for me. Pow, 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 pow.
All those people,
I don't interpret it.
Shoot also.
Yeah,
a lot of them don't shoot. That's true.
And
Anyway,
and they're
he gets
bad
away
at
with
it.
it. He just shoots everybody, walks out of the bar, gets $1,000, and then moves to San Francisco. And that's
I think
the
I
movie.
see this movie as a little creepier than you, Alex, because I saw this movie as like that. I thought it was really hilarious and quite charming that Clint Eastwood decided to have a movie where he can't get on a fucking horse at all to save his life. He's crawling around in the dirt, getting his butt kicked. It's like the opposite of what you see somebody like Steven Seagal doing, in their older years.
Yeah. It's like if The Rock's contract was like, I'm allowed to get punched as much as you want.
Right.
And then we had some of these revision ones, like, right, where it's like, so I think this, it probably informs like Last Action Hero and like Logan and like the current Obi-Wan, where it's like, let's see the dude, but like not being the dude anymore.
Right. Not really being the hero. However, I would argue that the way this movie ends is not that he gets away with it. It's that he is a scary freak and will never fully recover from his scary freakedness.
No,
I mean, like,
he just goes to San Francisco and he's fine.
I don't think that's what the movie's meant to leave you with. I think the movie's like final moment of like showing you that wide shot of the field and giving you the text again, and then it just slowly fades away, is spookier. I got a spooky tone and vibe
so
from
this
it.
is what I want. This is what I was really hoping to get out of this, because my feeling was like I was getting the revisionist part of it, and I really thought that was interesting. And I feel like the violence is not glorified. The morality is complicated. Every act of violence begets more violence and never solves anything. It feels very interesting, and it all has lasting consequences on people. And then it felt to me, and I know that I'm wrong and stupid, but it felt in that moment like, oh, but sometimes if you're really good at it, violence does solve everything. Killing is fine. You get away with it. It's like largely like no consequences. It's bloodless. Like, it's become sterile again. He just blah, 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 gets the money. And it's like, he seems cool because he still loves his wife. And then the final thing is like, the text is like, don't forget, he really liked his wife. And so I felt like just a weird record scratch there.
And materially, you're right. Materially, you're completely right. He does get away with it. But what do we learn about him in the end? Like, getting to see him, I mean, he's literally riding a pale horse. He is like death itself.
Yeah.
He's not cool. It's scary. It's weird. The way that the scene is depicted, it's not shot like, it's not like Sergio Leone. It's not like this is a cool gunslinger guy. He just walks into a bar like a freak and is just standing there with a gun in his hand. It's cut awkward. It feels strange. And then, yes, he gets away with it. I think that's the movie being honest, is that, yeah, you can be this and you can get away with it. You can be the devil, but you will always be the devil. You will never, ever fully recover from being a monster.
Well, also, I think
that's a wise place for the movie to leave off. I'm not sure I agree with that, but it is what the movie feels, I feel like.
The joke I made at the beginning about, like, I mean, I honestly think that final confrontation between him and Bill is like some of the sharpest written movie dialogue that's ever been put in the script.
Yeah.
It's incredibly curt. It's very, very short. They don't say a lot, but that simple line, I don't deserve this, deserve ain't got nothing to do with it, is what this movie is about, right? Mm-hmm. That is like what this character getting away with it. This is a guy who has now gotten away with it twice, right? Once when he first left to have his wife, he gets a happy ending. He gets pulled back in, falls back into the bottle, and then he gets away with it again, right? And it's like the fact that it's like kind of unfair and fucked up that this guy gets to do that is like, that's like the point of it. Life is, and violence is chaotic. There is no deserving. There is no good guys win out, bad guys die. It is just sometimes people get away with it, sometimes they don't, but deserving it has nothing to do with it. Karmic balance doesn't weigh down on people, right? It is like, once you uncork this bottle, this is just what's going to happen. And the way that like dialogue is delivered, it's so fucking good.
My only problem with that is I feel like with Sergio Leone, Deserve also has got nothing to do with it. Some of those guys just don't. Most of those guys who get shot don't deserve it, and
Right.
it is chaotic, and it turns out fine for the people we like, and it feels like if your point, if the hinging of the morality of this movie is the editing is a little weird, and you have to get this biblical reference of his horse being this color, that's just a little bit subtle for me, for not feeling like he's a superhero and he rules at the end.
Put the final scenes of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly and Unforgiven next to each other, side by side in your mind. One of those is depicted with like a booming score and like these intense close-ups, and like the editing is just building the moment as if you are supposed to be on your feet, as if you're not even supposed to watch it sitting down. You're just supposed to be so blown away by these images. And the other is just Clint Eastwood just walks slowly into a bar and just stands there with a gun in his hand, and everyone's like, "Oh, what? What's going on here?" And
also, like in Good, Bad, and the Ugly, like the shootout in the town with Angel Eyes guys, right? The movie implies those guys absolutely deserve it. They're working with Angel Eyes. They're bad guys, right?
Yeah.
That is like something that this movie does really well. Is like one of the reasons why I love Gene Hackman's performance in this is like he's the villain, but he's not really like that bad of a villain. Like he's
like
a bad
patriarch.
person.
He thinks he's doing the right thing, though.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. He reminds me
because his whole just to add to that, to agree with you, is also one of the funniest parts of the movie, but is his metaphor is that he's in the whole movie he's building a house and he sucks at building a house.
Yeah.
He doesn't realize
hilarious.
The whole movie he's like, I'm building a house. This is the most important thing I do. I am the one to do this. And everyone's like, I mean, secretly not a good carpenter. And then it's like pouring rain through the holes in the roof. And he's like, what do you mean the carpentry's not good? I'll kill you. So that is clearly his sheriff hood as well, that he is like, I'm the sheriff, I'm building a moral town. And then he's actually terrible at it.
Yeah, I think if it wasn't played for laughs, I would actually hate that detail. I would regard that as being too on the nose. But the fact that it is
funny, a funny thing that he can't take any criticism of his house, and he'll kill you if you mention it. But it does. All the other sheriffs are like, yeah, it sucks. I mean,
he gets away with it.
He also like he's a guy who talks about like morals and hating assassins, but like the only time he ever does violence to people is after he's unarmed them.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, that's a big part. He takes away people's weapons, their ability to defend themselves, and then he beats the shit out of them.
Right.
Like that's his thing. Like that's the type of person he is. He's the type of guy who will like criticize the Duke of Death, the Duck of Death, English Bob, for telling stories and exaggerating,
right. And then he'll lie about everything.
His own thing, right? Like it's just like he's such a fascinating villain, and
he's really interesting.
The way like the writer, the Saul Rubinek character is like the way these stories propagate and the way like people tell them, but like the fact that this movie within itself tells revisionist Western stories, like the scene when he's talking about two guns in the prison cell, is essentially what this movie is doing as a whole in one scene. It is a character going, no, that's not how it actually was. Let me tell you what this was actually about. It's just like really interesting meta
I do think that all is
filmmaking.
super interesting, and it feels like a more modern version of it that's got a little bit of modern sensibilities, and it's got bits of this, but it and I see your point about the swelling score and everything, but it does feel like he's still a bit superhero-like at the end. He still is magic. His gun is magic at the end.
He does the impossible. He kills a room full of people. I get that. I just interpreted it more horrific.
And no justice happens to him. And the idea that his justice is he has to know that he sucks, that's not enough for me.
All right,
I like it. It's ambiguous.
Jumping on it though, I think the thing that happens after when he enters, I think the enters and starts killing basically the saloon, like we lose our psychological insight into him. Like we don't really get another, I think, like close up when he leaves and stuff, right? Like so basically we had like sort of like this idea of like, oh, this is actually what's going on. We see like the weight of it, and I think it's not that it goes away, it's just that we lose that window into him basically from then on, right? So like you could have the same thing, you add in one shot where it's just a shot of his face basically, and you kind of have an idea of what's going on inside. We just don't get that shot again, right? And so you understand that if we had that, we'd understand that, yes, this is a weight that he's going to carry with him the rest of his days. We don't get that anymore because maybe it's not there at this point. Maybe the mask is still up, right? Because he's drinking, he's not really there. But I think it's more that we, as the audience member, we don't get to see into him anymore. And that's kind of the interesting thing about most of this movie is we get to see into the cost of it, whereas we haven't probably in past like sort of heroic westerns.
Yeah, and you hear him throughout the whole movie talk about how much he regrets what he did and how much he doesn't remember. There's like the great scene when him and Morgan Freeman are like trying to sleep, and he's just like, "Remember that guy? It's really fucked up what I did to that guy." Right? He's like clearly
He's
so
clearly
haunted
grappling with it
from the beginning, right? And like, I think that like he obviously regrets what he was, but you have to remember this is a guy who's like. He's like a true anti-hero in this movie. He's been a bad guy longer than he's been a good guy, right? He was a good guy for a very, very short amount of time through like the first 2/3 of this movie. And at the end, he has to go back to being like the bad person he is, right? It kind of goes into that, like, none of these people are actually heroic. None of them are good. None of them like get what they deserve or have any kind of fair justice. It is just like, this is just what the Wild West is like for these types of stories and these types of characters. It's
Okay.
good.
So we're gonna start moving towards the exit because Hunter's got to go. Although you've stopped being sarcastic, so I think maybe you're not in as big of a hurry as you once were.
Maybe it's panic time.
Well, hey, we got into the meat of the episode, so I was relieved when we got there.
Okay, well, we're gonna. I guess this is the last little bit of meat. This is the sloppy end of the meat. I don't know what
Not
meat's
how
like.
meat works, buddy.
So okay. So what's like I guess what my question for you guys is like, is there a movie that pushes this idea further into the revisionist that you like a lot? Is there something else that you think really does nail this kind of the part of the world that you like that's interesting here?
I mean, I think to me the closest movie that kind of compare this to that works really well is like No Country for Old Men. And I think that like Mundy as a character, especially when he starts drinking, is very similar to Anton Chigurh, and like that's why he's able to come in. It's like once he unleashes that, goes down that bottle, unleashes that demon, he becomes a force of nature. He becomes this unstoppable force that is like more, something that just realistic odds cannot stop because he's now
actually, I
represents something more than that.
Anthony, it makes sense because that movie, I feel like, in a very, for me at least, unsatisfying way, breaks narrative structure as well. Whereas this like, still kind of, it's like this is still like you recognize it as a story. Whereas like the ending of No Country for Old Men, it's like this is like it doesn't fit tidily into what you think is like this is how a story should go.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think very
I also found No Country for Old Men to be pretty unsatisfying, but I was called stupid for that, so I don't. We've done that on you can go back on the show if you want to hear Anthony and Hunter dogging me for not liking that movie. But I didn't.
Wait, really? We've dogged on you for that? I never remember us talking about that movie. We talked about that?
Yeah, one of the early, it was season 4, maybe the first. We instead of news, we would talk about other things we've watched, and I watched that with my wife, and we didn't like it, and you guys were mean about it. I could probably dig up the episode.
I like them.
Yeah, I know. One thing that I look for in a Western now is I just want it to be dirty. I don't trust because that's one of the things that's weird about that romanticized version of it is when they're just like. And one thing I loved about this is that they were like, "Man, sleeping out here sucks," and it's like, "Yeah, sleeping in the dirt is like real crappy when you've gotten used to a bed." And so I like a Western where, like, one of the things I love about Deadwood is just how muddy the streets are, because everyone's throwing their piss pot out the window in that, like, old West towns. The streets were so disgusting, and that.
Are you saying that you like it when they have much of a rind on them? Like you get to touch their face and they're like.
I do like a lot of riding on it. I mean, I have actually, one of the things watching this is I was like, because also around LA are the billboards for the new season of Westworld, and I didn't realize they were still making it, and I hung out longer than anyone I know watching that show, and the idea that it's still happening without me is so strange. But I did like a lot of the first season of that, and I liked when watching something like this. I'm like, if there is like a Disneyland Old West where you don't I don't want to do the shooting thing or having sex with robots, but where you just go on a side quest with a prospector to go help him get some gold, or you like stand off the banditos or something. That would be a totally fun park. I don't like the shooting and the sex part, but I kind of liked the idea of Westworld. It made me want to go hang out in Westworld from this, and like also think about how that show could have been great and then wasn't. I love Deadwood though. I'm a huge fan of Deadwood.
I've seen some of Deadwood. I think I would really, really like it. I just don't. I never have time for a TV show ever in my life. So.
It feels like an undertaking. It feels like I'm gonna settle in for Deadwood now.
Right, but I know I would love it. I know I would.
And it flew by for me. And also just like HBO character actors, like there's nobody better. That show has just some of the best little bits of acting, and the things that they did, the things like the mud in the street is really cool and interesting, and also the swearing is really interesting, which I know I'm not the first one to notice, but like the way they wrote modern swear words that are out of place, because if they said the real swear words like dadgummit was like dirty at the time, and if you said it now you'd sound like Yosemite Sam, so they're trying to get you the feel of it instead of the actual words.
Translation here, right?
Yeah, exactly. Translate, like updating it to make it feel now is really cool. Okay, great. Last thoughts. Now we have to move on. It is time to rank Unforgiven from 1992 in the list of the 21 best films of all time of season 5. So, Anthony, you always like to start with this, so I'm going to give you a quick recap. The top 5 films of season 5 are The Third Man, number 2, Edge of Tomorrow, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Where does this fall? Also, just to keep you interested, the bottom 5 are Hard to Be a God, PJ, Soylent Green, A Girl with Character from 1939, which we watched without knowing the dialogue, and The Transformers, the movie. It's the worst movie of all time of season 5. Where do you put this?
Give me 6 through 10 real quick?
Oh, I should also add that the quality line is around 13, which is like Princess Diaries is around the cutoff. After that, it gets a little bit wonky, and above that, we kind of liked stuff. Second 5 are Batman, 1989, Apollo 13, Michael Clayton, Out of Sight, and Battleship Potemkin.
This is definitely better than Apollo 13. I think this has to be above Apollo 13.
For sure, this is above Apollo 13. That seems like half of us agree on that.
I mean,
this list is so hard for me. Like every time you read this out, I'm like, it's so really different from what mine would be that I can never figure out where I want to place anything.
I know, but I do think it's actually like pretty good representation of the 4 of us as an opinion. And so if you just trust yourself,
4 is a lot of people though.
I know, but trust your gut, and I think this will. It does tend to average out. I will say I've been a coward about this, and you guys haven't called me on. There's one thing you've never called me on, but I'm gonna point it out myself, which is I almost always go last, and it's a little bit cowardly.
Yeah, right.
So I will go first on this, which I think this is below Michael Clayton and above Out of Sight. I think this is 9th.
Okay,
That's
9th.
my feeling.
Okay, I'm gonna give this number 3 for me.
Behind Edge of Tomorrow, above Eternal Sunshine.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because of how mishmashed things are for me. I can either go too high or too low, and I feel like going too high on this one.
Right. Is it because I went too low? Or are you trying to compensate?
Nope.
Okay.
No, I was actually gonna say number 2, and then when you said number 9, it actually kind of talked me into lowering it a little bit because number 2 would be a lot. I do feel bad
because I generally trust Jay's opinion, and so I feel bad, but I liked it more. I
disagree with you. I have no problem saying so.
Well, and also I would say that I think Hunter, you have done a good job of talking me towards it, because I was like pretty low on this before this, but you've talked me up. Ezra.
Okay, I'm gonna put it right under Batman, I guess. One worse than Batman.
All right, so 7th, above the greatest movie of all time, Apollo 13.
Yeah, I think that's very important for me to put it there. But also, I like this Oliver Knapp. I think I'm gonna say in terms of like, I think above that starts to be I'm recommending other people should watch this right now. I guess the other ones where it's like, guys, you got to check out this, right? If you haven't.
I know, and I think that's a mistake, and the main reason is because it just preferences more recent movies and movies you haven't seen. Whereas Apollo 13, if no one had seen Apollo 13 and you just watched it, you'd be like, everybody has to see this movie. Well,
I'm also including like Caleb, for example, in this, right? So like it's like, hey, Caleb, I want you to see like this, like right now. And so I think
you
Batman.
Think Caleb needs to watch the prostitute slashing movie over Apollo 13.
No, I don't think he needs to watch either of those. I think Batman is where you start.
Yeah, if you haven't seen Batman, you should check Batman out.
All of these are wackadoodle opinions. Anthony, get this finished for us.
I'm going to say this movie is one behind Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I think it's probably a
interesting.
superior film to Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, but from a film craft and visual and scale thing, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is more impressive to me, and it's much more of an enjoyable watch.
Right.
Yeah, I think that is definitely how I felt. Like, even
bad.
if it's morally less good, or morally more good than The Good, and the Bad, and the Ugly, the filmmaking in The Good, and the Bad, and the Ugly is so sweeping and interesting and influential. And this is like, I feel like it's fine in a lot of those parts. I don't know. Okay, so that gives us a 6.25 average, which means Unforgiven from 1992 is the official 7th best movie of all time of season 5, behind Batman and ahead of the greatest movie ever made, Apollo 13. I do kind of want to like push us, if I get a chance, towards watching something like Shawshank Redemption, just to hear you guys go like, well, it's like 9 for me. It's way below. Yeah, just
It's not gonna be one.
greatest
Why
things of
Shawshank
all time.
Redemption?
Just to hear you say that they're
Oh
worse
my
than
gosh!
Apollo 13.
Wait, guys, it's probably impossible for us to ever get to a 1. We'd have to like uniformly agree, basically, right?
Yeah.
It gets harder and
Yeah,
harder.
that's how the system works.
That is true. That's a flaw in our
We have to have a
averaging.
unanimous 1 where we all vote 1 and not a single person can vote 2 because otherwise
should-
it gets rounded up to 2.
Oh man, we should do like a re-ranking at some point at the very end to see if it's possible.
I would like to see our own rankings against each other. Wait, that's a good point. So I'm doing everything. I'm just ignoring the remainder. If you're 6.25, you're above 6. Should that round down to being number 6?
Yeah, there should be rounding down and
Maybe
rounding
6,
up
yeah,
otherwise.
at the 5, yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Well, it's
'Cause
too late for
otherwise
this
one-
one, but that's possible in the future. We'll revisit this in future maths.
Okay,
All
I
right.
don't think we've had any close calls in that way. Like, there's probably some movies that would have
No,
benefited from that a little bit, but not that many.
625 is pretty low, as a low 6. Okay. The next thing we got to do really quick, it's business time, you guys. So we just finished our 5th round. That means we're entering the 6th round of Kevin Bacon's Exquisite Corpse, which means it is time to redraw for our next round, which means it could be anybody picking next. So let me get my little thing here. Okay, so I am going to pick who is in position 1. Anthony Lopez. God damn it, that's 3 in a
never
row,
me.
Anthony.
I never get to go first.
You have gone first. I've never gone first.
I've gone
I
first.
can't
you were
believe
first in week 3. Ezra was
I've
first.
been-
First. This is Anthony's 4th out of 6.
I can't believe I have been so lucky.
The fix is in.
I mean, I'm doing it in an actual, I think, legitimate way. All right, number 2 is me. I've been number 2 before. That
That'll be last.
Ezra and Hunter. And it is Ezra. Man, Hunter.
Last again.
I think, Hunter, you'd rather be 4th than 3rd, though, right? Because if you're 4th,
Yes.
you get a 25% chance.
It is
double
actually more advantageous to
And
be last.
on round 3, you did wrap around. So you got to go Hunter. You're the only person who's done that so far. All right, new order. Anthony, Alex, Ezra, Hunter. Man, I mean, what are the odds? Like 1 in 8? Okay. Let me just give you some suggestions, Anthony. Here's the best move you could do right now. Travel via Morgan Freeman to March of the Penguins, because then the game's over, because there's no one else in that movie. So unless one of those penguins
That's a
showed
good
up in another movie, the game breaks.
I thought about trading
The
that.
game out, or
Yeah.
Anthony.
I thought about that, but I have a question for you guys. I need
Yes.
to get you guys' opinion on something.
Mhm.
Is 13 basically 14?
What?
Wow, this is
I
a
don't
riddle.
know.
That was
that.
a question. Would you guys? Can we all agree?
We're gonna need we're gonna need. There's too many ways that could. Am I gonna get in trouble for this?
No, I just have a question. Is 13 and 14 basically the same number? Correct.
Not if you're talking about ages.
No, I know
Yeah.
that. I'm just
In case
saying.
you're trapping us into something.
No, I'm just saying. If you have 13 or something, and someone was like, "I got 14 or something," you would be like, "We basically have the
If
same
you had
amount."
13
of
toes or
correct?
14 toes, I'd say that's kind of not a material difference anymore.
No,
Yeah.
I'm saying, yeah. But if someone was like, "I got $13," and you were like, "Well, I mean, I got $14," we basically have the same amount of money,
All right,
right?
sure. Money.
we would
doesn't
all
make a
agree.
difference.
Clearly,
I
we
gotta
would
say
have
yes. I'm so curious how this is going to be. So this is much more
We
interesting.
would have a
Yes.
similar amount of money, but if
Just-
you did that, you would be such a dick.
I know,
I
but
killed
I'm
13
just
people,
saying-
If I
14
told you they
people,
had $13 and you were like, "Well, I've got 14."
But I
That's
know. I'm
annoying.
just saying, though. Can we all agree that 13 is basically 14, right?
What's the
I'm
percentage
willing to do it.
I'm so
You all
curious.
ready to do it?
Where are you
Hunter?
going with this? I'm
No,
freaking
just
out.
trust me, Hunter.
I'm losing my
We definitely
mind.
don't trust you.
Hunter,
What are you doing?
What are you
Difference,
doing?
I
guys.
need unanimous
Anthony,
agreement.
stop.
I need a unanimous agreement that 13 is basically 14, right?
No.
I can
Basically,
get
yeah.
that from all of you.
No,
I
no
mean, come on.
agreement. I
Come
do
on,
not
Hunter.
agree. No.
Okay,
Well,
well,
if you
It's
believe
not.
it this strongly, I think you can do it without Hunter.
yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Because my point is, I got a power code
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I figured.
that is moving by within the same budget, size budget. And this movie has a $14 million budget. And there's this other movie I've been trying to get to for a while, directed by a little filmmaker called David Cronenberg,
No.
starring
God.
Jeremy Jones, that has a $13 million budget.
Oh, dear.
No.
Damn close, but
Yeah. So I think
Okay, so here's
you
what I'm
will
going
say
to
it's
do.
$1 million though, and I would probably notice $1 million missing.
no. But
So-
13 is basically 14. You said it
Okay.
yourself.
Well, but you said if you had
You
$13
said-
and someone had 14, I would say that's basically the same. But if you said 13 million and someone had 14 million, I'd be like, well, that's $1 million different.
Yeah, but we're not. Let's not get technical.
Okay, so
I already
here's my
gave
question.
you green.
Okay, first thing you're gonna do, Anthony, read me the exact wording of the power card.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Move via budget size.
Uh-oh.
Oh, so it
We
doesn't
didn't
even
really
say the
save
same.
ourselves.
It could be moved by a different budget size.
I guess.
So my gut says like 10% is a margin of error for like a similar budget.
You're under that, man, for sure.
So if it was if it was 13 and 14.3, so that would make it 10% of 13 million would be 1.3 million. So what are the exact budgets?
Yeah, there we go. I
you have to
hated
adjust
this, and now I
for
love
inflation?
it because you need to look up the exact budget.
Oh, I also like inflation. That's an important question.
I think you have to adjust for inflation.
So it's hard to get the exact thing.
It is.
14.4
But-
million is what I got for Unforgiven.
14.4?
Mm,
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
too.
Dead Ringer. It just says 13 million. It doesn't say
Okay.
What?
the
You were
exact
Dead
number.
Ringer?
Hmm.
Dead Ringer is 88. So it's
Yes.
actually worth a little bit more.
Okay,
Yeah.
so here we'll compare it. So
Hmm.
we got 13 million 88. Did I do this right? All right. So no, messed it up.
So 14.4 million in 1992 dollars is worth 25.6 million dollars today.
Okay.
And then $13 million in 1988 dollars, 32.8. So 33 million. I'm gonna say that's
Y'all,
Yeah.
adjusting for inflation is going to make this card impossible to use.
what?
No,
Absolutely. What?
no.
Things are
I
still
mean,
numbers still happen
Because-
twice.
No, but you're adding a useless extra bit of math to do on top of, you get what I'm saying? Like, you could just not adjust for inflation and it would be like the same deal as far as mechanically how the card works.
Okay, so
We're just adding an arbitrary
Yeah.
thing on top of
no,
it.
I think well,
It's
all right,
not
I would say
arbitrary.
more
It's
fair.
the numbers are meaningless without adjusting it. Because you don't know what those numbers actually mean. But here's what I would say. So my answer to this is, according to my calculations, it's a little different than yours from my inflation calculator, Ezra. Mine says,
Maybe
that-
that's the reason not to use it.
well, I don't know if we just typed something wrong. But anyway, 25.6 million versus 27 million. I would say that is well within 10%, because 10% of that would be 2.5 million, and this is less than that. This is a little like 1.8 million. So I'm
okay.
going to say my vote, and we can do this by there's 4 of us, so we can do this by vote, and it might break even, but we'll see what happens. So the tiebreaker will be whoever wants it more. So my vote is yes, this is fine. My vote this is within 10%, which I think is a fair reading of that card.
Well, hey, guess what?
Hunter, what do you
I
think?
was already sold before you adjusted for inflation. My answer,
All
of
right,
course,
Anthony,
is
you
yes.
think it's good, I assume?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to give it to you. You're going to travel via budget size
I think it's fair
David
fundamentally 'cause
Cronenberg's
these are both small
Dead
budget movies.
Ringers.
Yeah, I think that is
Yeah.
fair. These are both not massive.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you, Alex. It's kind of why I suggested Unforgiven to you.
Oh wow, this is a long play.
You
Yeah.
played him. How dare you?
I couldn't do anything, and I didn't have a backup pick.
There was-
It should be boring, so it was a reasonable play.
It depended on me getting first again, which I did not think was possible.
Couldn't be
Right.
possible.
Who
But-
would have known the odds?
Yeah, but it worked. This is my first play this whole game to actually try and get points
Yeah.
and try to win something.
And you're gonna
Uh,
not share them with anybody either.
You
You're just
could
gonna
share
get the
with me.
Yeah.
You don't have to. If you don't, this will put you into a commanding lead, which is interesting. But
Yeah.
so next
I
week, I don't want to watch this. Next week we have to watch Dead Ringers.
I
Oh, I
really
got it
think
out next week.
it's-
Yeah, I think I might be busy that day.
Oh no, well, I'll give it a try.
I think you guys will like this movie. I've heard it's very, very good. I have not seen it. I've always wanted to see it. I've been kind of on a Cronenberg kick with this new movie coming out recently. So I'm excited to knock this one off the
This is
list.
about identical twin gynecologists, both played by Jeremy Irons.
Yeah, buddy.
I don't want to
Yeah,
watch this,
buddy.
Anthony.
Usually
I'm
when
excited
Jeremy
to
Irons
watch
shows
this.
up, it's not a feel good movie. So I'm not.
I do like Jeremy Irons, but he's
Yeah,
he's
he's a
usually
great
up to no
actor.
good. I don't like it. Okay. All right. That's what we're doing.
Well, you
Fine.
Lion King next. Well, that's fun.
Yeah.
Well, so
when you
actually-
guys love this, I will take my apology in writing. That's all I'm saying.
I do want to say, actually, since I hate this idea, I also don't want to watch Ezra's movie. And we got a suggestion from Paul, longtime friend of the show, Paul, who says, I would like you to do Endgame as a watch party with some listeners. I don't know how to do this, but I'm just the idea guy. So what do you guys think? Would it be, because it's on Disney Plus, right? I assume.
Yeah.
And Disney Plus has like a watch together feature. I
It
assume.
does?
Does it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I did
Does.
click Google and it says it does. I think
Oh,
everybody
cool.
rolled them out mid-pandemic, so I assume everyone
Yeah.
does. But so, I've never tried to do those in big groups, but so we could have a like watch together Disney Plus stream where we went on Twitch and we were like, here's the link to watch the movie with us, and then hit go, and then we all watch this together. I don't want to watch it, and I do feel like the that watch will mostly be like, oh look, you can watch Avengers Endgame and also a smaller screen where Alex seems bored.
I like that. I feel like
I don't know if
heightened
that's
experience.
a great experience for people, but I'd be willing to try it.
All I know is that by the time we get to end games, you're gonna wish you were watching Dead Ringers. instead.
I mean, my feeling is because at least Endgame is not a horror movie, so actually it might be very much the opposite. Where the whole time I'm watching Endgame, I'm thinking like, well, maybe Dead Ringers was not so bad. Ugh, I don't want to do it. You
I'm
guys,
excited
why
about
couldn't
this.
you pick fun things?
This is very good for me, actually, because Jeremy Irons turns out has been in a Chinese film. So
There's no
I
way-
know what I want the next person to do.
Look, there's no way this is getting to you and staying in that staying in that path.
I beg to differ because if I'm looking at a movie right now where the cast is Jeremy Irons and then only no actors that will lead back to Hollywood. So there
I'm
you
pretty
go.
sure that Ezra might be pointing out that he is before you.
Yeah,
right.
And before
Alex,
him.
Ezra, we have no reason. We've healed. All right, we're buddies
I
again.
don't remember this. I remember
We've
some.
healed.
I remember
We're
pulling my money
good
together.
again.
This is the best part about
Ezra.
doing this so slowly over
Ezra.
many weeks is that you
Come
can say
on.
we were in a fight or we've healed, and the other
We're-
person is hard pressed to know whether
Ezra.
you're lying or not.
Oh, I remember
We've
giving
had
you a
different-
bonus point beforehand, and then after that,
You took
Ezra, we have
some kind of stabbing.
We have
in the back.
consistently worked together because here's the thing: I stabbed you in the back, and you stabbed me right back, buddy. So even Stevens,
How-
no
I
hard
don't
feelings
remember him
over here.
stabbing you.
I wasn't even here.
You played Spaghetti Time, and we had to watch.
That's
and we
true.
had to
You
talk
did
about
immediately
how
avenge
we were
yourself.
just
Yeah.
talking about how we did not want to watch more bro frat boy movies, and
Hey.
then we had to go into Spaghetti Town.
Didn't you guys like these?
Yeah, but
Yeah, but still too broy.
I'm a bro, dude. I'm super broy. All right.
But think of where if we had done Rush Hour 2, where we would be today. You know.
It would be in Wong Kar Wai territory, and it would be better.
I do
All we
wanna
would
get
have to
there.
do is put up with Rush Hour 2. That's all we would have had to have done.
Alex,
Um,
I feel like this is worth saying, Alex, just so you know. Like, you realize that you can't get to your movie without me winning, right?
I don't know what you mean.
Okay,
No, say
so
more about that.
our movies share an actor.
Oh, right. So if I get mine, you get yours.
And also, I have a power card, as we know about, that will let me switch positions anytime I want.
Oh, I forgot about that.
So there's no time, Caleb. Alex, like if you want to ever get to your movie, you will afterwards see Endgame.
Right. If you... Right, unless you burn that card.
I'm definitely not doing that.
Well, or unless someone else has a card about you going afterwards. So
Alex, you're next, right?
Somebody has a card that suspends one rule. So maybe the rule is that Ezra gets to play a card.
Ooh.
Okay.
So maybe there's a blocker.
Yeah, that's cool. Also, Alex, I just pointed, because you're next, right? After
Yes.
Anthony?
Yes.
Yeah, I just pointed out a movie that would trap us in the Chinese film industry, and we would not be able to get out. That's the reason I'm pointing that out, Alex, is so that me and you can work together.
So your suggestion now,
my
Hunter,
mortal enemy.
your idea for what I should do on my turn, since I can't get where I want to go from this, probably, although I haven't seen what the aspect ratio is, or if I get there, I have to watch Endgame afterwards, which is
you don't want to do that, right?
Which is a cost.
Right?
So what you're saying is, instead, I can just force us into Chinese movies.
Yep.
And there's no escape because that you can't go back with the same actor.
Nope, you can't go back via Jeremy Irons, and he is the only dude in the movie.
I love this idea. It would not work based on my power cards, but I love the idea.
Right, because Ezra's just gonna screw us over. Okay, anyway, so next week, Dead Ringers, and then if we do have to watch Avengers Endgame, we'll try to figure out a way to do it on Twitch. I think that would be a fun co-production, maybe with Hunter's Twitch channel or something.
Yeah, that'd be fun. We could do that.
Just so we can save on some setup time.
We would get in trouble, but we should do it.
I don't think fans would be upset.
No. You can't broadcast a movie on Twitch.
No, you wouldn't see the movie. You'd have the link to watch together. So if you have Disney Plus, you'd click it, watch it on your TV. It would be
You're right. Yeah.
You'd essentially be recording a commentary track.
Yeah,
exactly. We'd be doing a commentary track live, and you could join us if you wanted. I can't imagine anyone would want that, but
yeah, no, they
I'd do
would.
it. I'd watch it with you guys.
They want to do that. Yeah,
we'll see. We can also just do it on YouTube, and then I could do it. But speaking of which, you can still watch all of our new episodes on YouTube, youtube.com/AlexFalcone. You can also find me on TikTok, where you can hear me tell a story that you already know from this show that Anthony told me, but you can do it with my face available to it. And if you are listening now because you came over from TikTok, thank you for getting this far. What a shock. Sometimes they're not this breezy, but Hunter was in a hurry, so let's wrap things up. Thank you so much for listening. We will be back again next week. You can always send us email, podcast@read-weep.com, and we especially appreciate all of our meat buddies who keep the show going, Metreon.com. Ezra, thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, good to be here.
I'm glad you were able to make it. Anthony, thanks for the fun chaos.
Yeah, I'm glad that all worked out. 13 is 14. Hashtag it, kids. Let the world know.
I don't like it.
13 is 14.
Also, I might not watch your movie still, so that's an option that I'm considering.
You're gonna watch it. It's gonna be
gonna
good.
watch it.
You're gonna watch it. It's gonna be good.
How about this? You don't have to watch it, but you have to forfeit your power cards. I vote yes for that.
Like, at some point, like, if we were playing a board game and you were like, okay, so my next move requires you to be unhappy for 2 straight hours, you'd be like, I don't like this game anymore.
That's risk, man. That's a lot like Monopoly. That's a lot of games are like that.
Speed or triple speed or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I might watch it, but also be looking at the other screen. That's
Transformers
possible.
the movie, you know?
Yeah.
We were in such a hurry that we barely talked about the movie, and we've debated rules almost as long as we talked about the movie.
This is my favorite episode of the show.
All right, we'll talk to everybody next week. Oh, wait, bye, Hunter. I hope you make your thing on time.
Hey, so glad I improved the pace of the show this week. Yo,
Chop, chop. Bye.
Bye-bye.